Divine grace,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Gauranga, Gita. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Sacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Ashatra Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Ananda Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
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 Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jai, Jai. Jai, Jai, Jai.
So, we must thank all the devotees who have assembled here this evening. Actually, reading the
Terima kasih kepada semua penyembah telah datang berkumpul malam ini di acara, dan ini adalah acara terakhir Maharaj di Bali.
last evening, we have more points.
Jadi ini adalah acara malam yang terakhir. Besok pagi masih bisa ada kelas 5 Bhagavatam pagi.
So this evening I want to share. Recently I received a whole someone compiled whole series of videos and lectures.
Jadi Maharaj akan menunjukkan sebuah video kumpulan dari berbagai video yang akhir-akhir ini dikumpulkan oleh para penyembah dengan intensif sekali, yaitu terkait dengan pelajaran-pelajaran Prabhupada yang direkam di berbagai tempat.
I will try to make a copy. Maybe you have already a copy of the videos here, more especially collected together. I should collect it so that the videos later on here can be possible.
Maharaj nanti akan membagikan video ini kepada penyembah yang memiliki ruang yang cukup untuk penyimpanan.
So, in the early days, actually we are still in the early days, but in the very, very early days, when Srila Prabhupada started the movement, he would send the plays first.
Jadi di awal gerakan kesadaran Krishna, jadi sejak masih awal-awal sekali, di mana Srila Prabhupada telah mengirimkan murid-muridnya untuk memulai sebuah proyek pengajaran.
Everyone knew that Srila Prabhupada had himself alone gone to the Western countries to begin the Krishna consciousness.
Setiap orang tahu bahwa Srila Prabhupada pergi ke negara barat sendirian untuk memulai gerakan kesadaran Krishna.
And that for 1 full year, practically, he struggled very hard to actually begin.
Dan dalam kurun waktu 1 tahun penuh, Srila Prabhupada sebetulnya mengalami begitu banyak kesulitan ketika beliau tiba di Amerika.
Yes. But by Krishna's mercy and by his Guru Maharaj's mercy, slowly, gradually, some young people took interest in the movement.
Atas karunia Tuhan Sri Krishna dan atas karunia Guru Maharaj dan Srila Prabhupada, jadi mulailah Srila Prabhupada mendapatkan murid-murid di Amerika.
And even though Srila Prabhupada was physically present, there were still many obstacles to overcome.
Jadi meskipun Srila Prabhupada hadir secara pribadi, namun ada begitu banyak tantangan dan kesulitan yang dihadapi.
So even though we are already 50 years since the registration of ISKCON society, we are still in many ways living what we call pioneering days.
Jadi meskipun kesadaran Krishna ISKCON telah berumur lebih dari 50 tahun sejak didaftarkan, masih saja ini masih seperti dalam keadaan kita baru mulai gerakan ini.
Actually, as long as we are here in the material world, we should expect different obstacles and challenges.
Dan kita mesti tahu selama kita berada di dunia material ini, maka berbagai rintangan dan kesulitan itu pasti ada.
But we should know, we should become very clear, we should become very convinced, we should become very strong in our faith that the teachings given by Srila Prabhupada of Vedic culture, Vedic teachings, are actually what is needed very urgently all over the world.
Namun kita mesti mengetahui dengan jelas bahwa gerakan kesadaran Krishna ini berdasarkan ajaran kitab suci Weda yang diajarkan oleh Srila Prabhupada adalah kebutuhan yang sangat mendesak untuk disebarkan di seluruh dunia.
Srila Prabhupada would always remind us that actually, although there are so many organizations and so many movements and so many different attempts and governments, etc., this particular movement that we call the Hare Krishna movement is actually the most important movement.
Srila Prabhupada seringkali menjelaskan dan mengingatkan bahwa ada begitu banyak institusi spiritual diperkenalkan di seluruh dunia. Namun gerakan kesadaran Krishna ini itu adalah satu hal yang sangat penting dan bahkan terpenting untuk diajarkan di seluruh dunia.
We should never become discouraged in any way.
Dalam segala keadaan hendaknya kita tidak merasa putus asa meskipun ada banyak cobaan dan rintangan.
We should know that actually it is Krishna's desire that these teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam be introduced all over the world.
Dan kita harus tahu bahwa ini adalah kehendak Tuhan Yang Maha Esa Sri Krishna agar ilmu pengetahuan kesadaran Krishna ini disebarkan di seluruh dunia.
And if we can somehow be part of that activity, then the benefit will be very great.
Dan kalau kita entah bagaimana bisa ikut bergabung dalam gerakan ini dan ambil bagian, maka itu sebuah keuntungan yang istimewa bagi kita.
So we are presently in a very important period, the era or the period of golden jubilee.
Dan sekarang kita sedang berada dalam masa yang sangat penting, yaitu masa keemasan daripada zaman ini.
We will be celebrating 50 years of golden jubilees up until the year 2027.
Dan kita sedang merayakan berbagai jenis perayaan 50 tahun daripada gerakan kesadaran Krishna ini dan akan berjalan sampai tahun 2027.
Because the year 2027 will mark the 50th year of Srila Prabhupada's leaving the planet.
Karena pada tahun 2027 nanti akan diperingati 50 tahun keberangkatan Sri Krishna dari planet ini.
Yes. So, as Srila Prabhupada would always encourage us to take seriously these teachings given to us by our
Jadi seperti yang sering diingatkan oleh Guru, kita hendaknya mengambil manfaat dengan serius dalam mengikuti pendidikan kesadaran Krishna yang telah diturunkan oleh para acharya dalam garis perguruan kita.
So somehow many devotees in the early days they took photos, they took so many videos in relation to Sri Bhagavad and
Dan untungnya para penyembah di awal yang ikut dalam gerakan kesadaran Krishna ini telah mengambil begitu banyak foto dan video, dan itu memberikan kesempatan kepada kita untuk mengetahui bagaimana gerakan ini dijalankan sejak awal.
So we are all actually very fortunate that we have the opportunity to see so many photos of Sri Prabhupada and hear some videos.
Dan kita sangat beruntung bisa menyaksikan bagaimana Srila Prabhupada di awal gerakan ini yang akan ditunjukkan pada video nanti.
So I just showed one video which is describing some of the activities, early activities of the devotees and the early days of Madhava.
Dan dia akan menunjukkan sebuah rekaman video yaitu gerakan di awal kegiatan kesadaran Krishna ini di Vrindavan.
So from Ganyar, we will all go to Vrindavan.
Jadi dari Ganyar ini kita semua akan menuju Vrindavan malam ini.
We won't take any airfare. No airfare.
Jadi gratis, tidak perlu banyak tiket.
So actually these videos, some of the videos are short, some of them are very long.
Jadi ada beberapa rekaman video itu yang masih utuh, cuman singkat, dan ada yang lebih panjang juga.
And we only have limited amount of time. So for the next half an hour, possibly we'll try to see the video.
Jadi karena masing-masing durasinya pendek, kita berharap bisa menyelesaikan dalam kurun waktu setengah jam saja.
And then, is that the right time?
Ya, 8:45.
So at the latest, yeah, within half an hour, we will stop, and if there's any maybe last minute question or comments.
Dan setelah pertunjukan video ini, mungkin kalau ada penyembah yang akan mengajukan pertanyaan, disilakan.
No sound system. Normally, normally there's one pin that goes here. Because, yes. As much as possible, Shreya will, because some discussion will be there briefly.
Saya akan mencoba untuk menerjemahkannya sejauh yang dapat saya tangkap.
Coba ini kabel
So maybe some lights can go up.
My first involvement was when I met Prabhupada in England, in Bury Place. I was a very young, very new devotee, and was all freshened up, ready to go into the evening arati. And Prabhupada wanted to see me. So I went up to his room. I was feeling very, very nervous. And Prabhupada says, I want you to go to Vrindavan to help build a temple. We want to build a Krishna Balaram temple. So I went with the devotee called Smarahari. We came to India on a one-way ticket. Arrived in Vrindavan. Smarahari went to Mayapur to serve there. I stayed on in Vrindavan. And things were very slow in the beginning. There were no funds. There was not even a concept for the temple. No design. And of course, the key ingredient, no cement. So you'd think, well, how is it going to happen? How is Krishna going to help us desire? So Guru Kripa Maharaj, given the task of going to Japan with his collecting party, the Nahata, and they work very, very, very hard and bring a lot of money back to. And that was the beginning, real progress in the building of the Krishna Balaram Mandir.
As the opening was approaching, Prabhupada was on top of every detail that was going on. And he put what he considered all his best men in charge of all the different areas. They were all his GBCs, and they were all the different administrators at that temple in charge of prasadam distribution, greeting guests, whatever it was. They were just his assistants. And of course, this was Vrindavan, so Prabhupada wanted everything done first class. And I remember him ringing the bell so many times during the day to get this one, get that one, going back, and he would be checking up to make sure that they were doing everything properly. And even receiving all of his disciples, there was nothing that escaped Prabhupada's vision, his perception. I remember him saying they should have this deep. They have to have cow's milk, not full of milk. Detail Prabhupada covered. It wasn't just the installation ceremony. That also, he was taking care of that, all the different details. He was always giving us the guidance, but it was clear that Vrindavan was his temple. He wanted to make that statement. It was very important. Everything was done properly in Vrindavan. We had gotten local Brahmins to install the deities because Prabhupada said that without them doing it, people wouldn't think the deities were really installed. This is Prabhupada at the installation. At one point in the ceremony, they had to bring Prabhupada out. I guess he was Mana, the sponsor of the sacrifice, and he had to participate in some of the rituals. Did you notice how Prabhupada sits here quite, I don't know what to say, submissively enduring the ritual of the Brahmanas. He also ordered that there would be a 20-hour kirtan, and he told the devotees that the kirtan is actually installing the deities. But they're quite elaborate on the rituals. You see how they do their coconuts, that's the real style. Virginia was busy taking notes. I've never seen a person draw something to erase anything. And I remember him, Surabi, he had these pencils in his pocket. And he said to me one morning, Gananava, he says, I'm going to do the artist's concession. I'm going to draw the Krishna Balaram Mandir. I remember we were staying in these little straw-roofed huts, very humble
and a drawing board. I had an A3 sketch pad. And he opened it up and he started sketching. And his pencil never stopped. He didn't rub anything out, and it just manifested on this paper. And when he showed Srila Prabhupada that design, Srila Prabhupada beamed. Srila Prabhupada said, "This is wonderful." And he was so proud of it, and he was showing some guests that were also there in the room. He said, "Oh, this is going to be the Krishna Balaram." Yeah.
Prabhupada was responsible for everything, and he pushed everyone to do as much as they could do, and sometimes beyond our own limits. And I remember Sarabi, who was in charge of it all, had to undergo a lot of chastisement. I would be getting Sarabi so many times towards the end of it, the last week, and I don't know how much sleep he was getting. I know it wasn't very much. When Prabhupada would say, "Call Sarabi, tell him that this was wrong and that was wrong," and it was very intense.
In all those 2 years that all these temples were built, 2 or 3 years, there was always this pressure on time. It had to be done quickly. Everything had to be done so fast. And there was always delays. And that was a kind of a disappointment. I really did my best. I tried my best. And I think at times there was like an ego thing in me that I would feel that it couldn't be faster, but I could see that Prabhupada disagreed with me. And these were like moments that you probably make a lot of spiritual advancement, because you really got to face yourself. You're going to accept the fact that no, it is too slow, even though I could have had millions of reasons why, including there was no money, including the electricity went down, there were blackouts, whatever I would come up with. It just would not register. And Prabhupada, he would not accept that. It was like, now I have to surrender. So this was like my battle of surrender. It was always like, there is a way to do it faster. And then you have to find that out.
And I remember when all the deities were standing, they weren't on the altar yet, they were on the ground with their blindfolds on, and there was this opulent sort of hut built in the courtyard with fruits and coconuts and this whole thing. And Srila Prabhupada was over talking to a few Brahmins, I think, that were outside. Vision, it was calling Krishna to come and enter into the forms of the dream of light. His were us, and the other people were just standing there with their palms folded, and he was saying something I couldn't hear. I was on the saw that vision, relation of deities.
I went to Jaipur, where the deities were being carved. They supervised the carving of the deities, especially Prabhupada. They were from photographs, obviously not very good. And so the man carving was a hard time. He was so frustrated because I kept trying to show them things and point out certain things on Prabhupada. They had to actually redo the whole carving at one point because some spot came up on Prabhupada's head. The sculptor finally said, "Now you do it," and he left. Because I watched him, so I kind of started learning a little bit. So I took over for a little while. Finally, the day came when all the deities were finished. And I brought the deities to Vrindavan on a train, and then Tunga, and then took a rickshaw. It was like early in the morning, 3 a.m. or something. I started entering the outskirts of Vrindavan with all the deities. The hair on my head stood up from that sun. It was an amazing experience. Nothing would stand in Prabhupada's way. This temple had to open as soon as possible. And there were many obstructions. If you live in Vrindavan, you try and get things done. Everything's magnified 100 times. So if there's an obstruction, it's a big one. It's 100 times in the world. But finally, through great endeavor, the day arrived.
Ramchandra Reddy was the governor of Uttar Pradesh. He comes from Andhra Pradesh originally. Prabhupada had some contacts with him. He was also a life member. Prabhupada had very specifically invited him. That was very important to Srila Prabhupada, that the governor come for the opening. And he was establishing the credibility of our movement. And Prabhupada was such a gracious host that even though he was very sick at that time, Prabhupada somehow or other completely shed all of his illness. Was acting in every way as if he had had absolutely no illness. And then later in the evening, he was not well again. So Prabhupada would just completely ignore his physical condition.
The first arti was going to take place, and I was in the temple room. The temple room was packed with people. And you know how it is in India, everyone was shoving each other one way. It was like an ocean of people just going from one direction to the other, and somehow or other, I found myself right in the middle, and the curtains opened. I had no idea that Prabhupada was going to offer the first arti. And it was so wonderful just watching Srila Prabhupada as he was offering the articles. He was offering them with such love and simplicity. When the curtains opened up, I was right in front of the Krishna Balaram altar. And I was so filled with ananda, just thinking of the triumph of Prabhupada and all that went into it. So just thinking of that, tears were just pouring out of my eyes. And I just wanted to stand there and watch Prabhupada in this moment of glory and relish it. There was just one person between me and a clear view of Srila Prabhupada, and that was Tripurari Swami. So I was standing behind him, and I did everything I could think of. I held my camera in front of him. I tapped him on the shoulder. But he was just fixated on Prabhupada offering the arti. Vishaka wanted to take a picture, and I was blocking the view. And so she's tapping me on the shoulder, which, you know, a lady wouldn't normally do that in this guy. And I was a sannyasi at the time, on top of it, a new sannyasi. And, you know, I was hearing her, but I wasn't listening. He remained fixed in his position and, in fact, just ignored me. So I became a little bit desperate, and I put my mouth next to his ear because the kirtan was very loud. And I said loudly, "If you stand there, then you can see Srila Prabhupada offering the arti. But if you let me stand there, then the whole world will see Srila Prabhupada offering the arti." So she got to me, and I stepped out of the way, and she took a very famous picture.
There's one part towards the end of the artic, he's offering the peacock fan. And as he looks out to offer it to the devotees, the smile on his face is unbelievable. It was like one who'd conquered the earth. He'd done it. He'd installed Krishna and Balaram in Vrindavan, and you could just read his face. It was full of bliss, full of happiness. When Srila Prabhupada gave the lecture on the day of their installation, he gave the lecture in Hindi, so it would have been directed to the local guests. And he was begging forgiveness from all the personalities there for any offenses. And that struck me.
there were days of speeches by different godbrothers and learned men of Vrindavan. In particular, I remember there was one speech given by Nisringa Vallabha Goswami, where Nisringa Vallabha Goswami gave extensive scriptural evidence of how persons who were not members of the Vedic culture could be elevated to the platform of Brahmins and Vaishnavas. And Prabhupada was quite, it was given in Hindi, but Prabhupada gave a summary afterwards.
And the other thing I'll never forget is the quantity of pink rose petals. And there was this like abundance of pink rose petals that you were actually kind of up to our ankles on the floor. It was so special. After Mangalati, we were all making balance for Krishna and Balaram. And one day there were lots of broken flowers left that couldn't be used for the garland in the sheet that we'd been using on top of the floor to make them in. And I took them and I showered them over Srila Prabhupada from the balcony in the guest house. And then he gave this instruction that we shouldn't waste the flowers. Srila Prabhupada was very conscious in India, particularly, of wasting the money. He knew how to protect the flowers so they'd stay fresh for longer. He told us to wrap them in damp cloths and hang them in a cold place. He knew everything about flowers, it seemed to us. But also he didn't want us to waste. Even though, practically speaking, the flowers couldn't be used, he still wanted to teach us not to waste. And he considered that showering flowers on him like the demigods in the heavenly planets a waste of flowers. So I never did that again.
The Vrindavan project was actually the very first real temple in ISKCON. This established Prabhupada so much in Vrindavan. I think he felt very good about that. Because actually Bombay was started earlier, but it was stopped because of the court cases. And I think at that time he was trying to get Bombay first. And then everything was blocked there. And Mayapur was a long-term project. It wasn't so urgent. And then Vrindavan became priority. So it only took about 2 years to build Vrindavan. Less than 2 years. Most ashrams and temples, they went very slow. When money came there, they would build something. And ours went very fast, very quickly done. And that was the same in Bombay, actually. Of course, Vrindavan had beautiful buildings, very classic buildings, but the standards were not very high in most of them. They were sort of run down a little bit. They were dark inside, and they didn't have much life, actually. And then this one was just so clean and fresh and lively, and there was just, everything was beautiful in there. And that's what people felt also when they would come to the temple. It sort of woke up Vrindavan.
There was a parade, quite an elaborate procession through the streets of Vrindavan. There was an elephant, there was a Shania band, and all the devotees doing kirtan. It was quite a commotion with all of this procession going through. Prabhupada seemed to be very beaming and happy. He was walking at the head of the procession, and which now that I think of it, must have been quite funny for people who knew him from before. And here he is with an elephant, Shania band, and all these Western disciples walking through the streets where he had walked so many times as a sadhu. And we walked quite a ways. It seemed like a very, very long walk through the city.
The procession, it was like something out of the Bhagavatam. Decorated cows and bulls, brass bands, drums, kirtan parties, thousands of people. Residents came out of their homes, their businesses, as Prabhupada walked by, offering him water, flowers, and similar gifts. I remember that day I heard that Prabhupada wasn't well. The devotees wanted him to sit on a palanquin. It was a very long procession, but he refused. He walked the whole way.
They had a Rath, because that's the tradition. There's a Rath, and the spiritual master rides on the Rath, and then there's a procession. And there were hundreds of devotees. And at one point, Prabhupada decided he wanted to get off the Rath and walk with us. So when he did that, everyone just wanted to come and touch Prabhupada's feet at the same time, especially the Indian-bodied people who would come to the festival. So immediately, I think it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was there. He organized us into human chains. We locked arms on either side of Prabhupada. So we went along the procession like that, keeping people farther away from Prabhupada, and at times we would be closer to Prabhupada. The farther away you got from Prabhupada, it was like being in a hurricane. It was just chaos. And as we came closer to Prabhupada, it got calmer and calmer and calmer until when we were right next to Prabhupada, it was like we were in the eye of a hurricane. I mean, it was so and serene, and Prabhupada was just emanating this ecstasy. And it was a stark realization, the consciousness that the empowered pure devotee had. He could change the atmosphere, not just in a room where everything was organized perfectly, but he could change the atmosphere anywhere. Prabhupada designed Krishna and Balaram deities, the mudra. He made a drawing, gave it to Bhardraj to have it made in Jaipur. There's no Krishna Balaram deity like this, with Balaram resting his arm on Krishna's shoulders. There's no deity like that. Prabhupada made that design. And then he would joke about it. Who is stronger, Krishna or Balaram? Bala means strength. He's the strong one. And everyone would say, Balaram. And then Prabhupada said, then why Balaram is resting on Krishna? So this means Krishna is stronger.
So the bank was right under the guest house. That's actually where Prabhupada's room is now, where we have Bhagavad Gita class. They opened a bank, and all the devotees crowded in, and Prabhupada was inside, and he was inaugurating the bank. And he told this joke. I was craning through the little screen window to hear what he was saying. He said, so one man heard that money attracts money. So he went into the bank and he put his money on the counter. And the teller took his money and put it in the till and said, yes, can I help you? And the man said, well, I heard that money attracts money. So I put my money there. And he said, yes, but our money has attracted your money. And Prabhupada laughed, and everyone laughed. And that was his joke that he told.
There was one morning walk after the installation, and the temple was beautiful. It looked so beautiful. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there, and he said, Prabhupada, Sarabi has really done a wonderful job. And Prabhupada kind of chuckled and he said, yes, everyone is saying Sarabi has done so nice. He said, but all I do is chastise him. He said, but that's my duty. I'm his spiritual master. And when he said that, all the ideas I had about, I used to think, poor Sarabi, you just could understand. Prabhupada was always pushing us. And if we were able to, handle that and deal with it, you could make so much advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because with this pushing, always came a lot of blessings. Whatever we could do was because of Prabhupada's blessings.
The next day, I was on Prabhupada's morning walk on what was then Chatikara Road, which at that time, of course, was really just a dusty road through a largely uninhabited, undeveloped region of Vrindavan with woods and fields. And Prabhupada that morning was, again, very much pleased. He'd worked so hard to establish the temple and install the deities, and now it had come off. And Prabhupada recalled how he pushed the devotees, said, I was practically whipping them. Then he began telling how Krishna was flattering Balaram
And my dear brother, all of these trees are bending down to offer you their obeisances. And these bees, they're all great sages who are coming to you for your association. In that way, he began describing that.
Jadi ada waktu 5 menit kalau ada yang ingin mengajukan pertanyaan.
Videos like this,
Jadi yang ingin mendapatkan kopi dari video ini, mungkin satu bisa kopi dan nanti membagikannya. Kalau kita ikuti percakapan tadi itu, yang bagaimana para penyembah mengagungkan Prabhupada, jadi sangat mengharukan sekali. Seperti kutipan singkat itu, penyembah ingat, karena Prabu Surabi itu bekerja keras dalam mewujudkan tempel Krishna Balaram. Namun demikian Prabhupada tak henti-henti untuk memarahi bukan karena satu kesalahan, tetapi untuk mempercepat proses pembangunan tempel itu, sampai para penyembah lain merasa begitu kasihan betapa malangnya Prabu Surabi ini telah bekerja keras tapi dimarah oleh Prabhupada. Namun Prabhupada mengatakan bahwa itu harus dilakukan oleh beliau karena beliau adalah seorang guru. Guru boleh memarahi muridnya, tetapi memarahi bukan dalam arti bahwa seorang guru membenci muridnya. Seorang guru itu untuk membenahi atau menunjukkan jalan yang tepat pada murid. Ada pertanyaan?
Prabhupada mengatakan gunakan apa yang kamu hasilkan apa yang kamu butuhkan. Kan gampang ngomongnya, tapi prakteknya yang sulit.
Setelah Prabhupada mention, produce what you need and use what you produce. It is so easy to say, but very difficult to practice. Setelah Prabhupada mengatakan, hasilkanlah apa yang kau butuhkan dan gunakanlah apa yang kau hasilkan. Jadi mudah dikatakan, namun sulit dipraktekkan.
The person never gives any orders which are not possible.
Seorang guru rohani yang memberikan sebuah perintah bukanlah suatu kegiatan yang mustahil untuk dilakukan.
So if one has a firm faith and a strong conviction in the words of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then nothing is impossible.
Jadi kalau seseorang memiliki keyakinan dan kemantapan dan ketabahan hati yang penuh terhadap wacana dari guru, sadhu, dan sastra, tidak ada sesuatu yang mustahil. Semua pasti bisa dikerjakan.
So in the 2 days, actually, on the 23rd is the big special day this month. Every year in December, there is Gita Jayanti. So that is very important day for all the devotees of Islam.
Jadi beberapa hari lagi pada tanggal 32 setiap 23 di bulan Desember. Setiap bulan Desember adalah sangat penting bagi semua penyembah di ISKCON karena 23 Desember ini adalah hari Gita Jayanti, hari turunnya Bhagavad Gita.
Because one of our objectives and goals is to actually establish communities that are known as Gita Mandir.
Jadi fokus kita adalah sesungguhnya untuk membangun sebuah komunitas yaitu yang bertema Gita Nagari seperti desa Gita Nagari yang telah kita bangun di Sumatera.
Yeah, actually, Gora Hari is also Gita Nagari kecil.
Jadi komunitas Gora Hari ini juga sebetulnya bisa disebut sebuah desa Gita Nagari yang lebih kecil.
So actually, after Indonesia, we went to Africa, West Africa, where a group of devotees in the country of Togo began a community that they were calling Gita Nagari.
Jadi setelah Indonesia memiliki sebuah desa Gita Nagari sudah 24 tahun berlalu dan kini para penyembah di Afrika Barat di negara yang bernama Togo, mereka juga telah mendirikan atau mulai mendirikan sebuah desa Gita Nagari juga.
So, humble request is for devotees to meditate on these instructions given by Sri Prabhupada and in whatever way possible to help establish more and more such communities known as Gita Nagari.
Jadi para penyembah hendaknya bermeditasi, merenungkan dan berdoa agar kita senantiasa bisa mengikuti perintah Prabhupada dengan harapan suatu hari kita bisa membangun kelanjutan atau membangun satu lagi dari desa Gita Nagari ini, dimulai dengan satu dan satu di Taman Kris. Kita cukupkan untuk malam ini. Para penyembah silakan maju untuk mendapatkan mangsa dan barang.
Jaya Jaya Hare